What up, what up, what up, everybody? Good morning. Happy Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. I had to think for a second. Welcome to the morning show. Stock Market TV, Spencer, JC, Steve with you as we are every single morning. We'll talk about NVIDIA today because $1 billion, right? Kind of a big deal. Is it a big deal? I guess it's a big deal. Yeah, so talk about that. I know JC wrote about the 2 to 100 scan in the morning note. We'll talk about that as well. I want to hit on Novavax, which is up big this morning. I want to hit on Neo. I want to hit on Five Below. Lululemon, of course. So that's the plan. Good morning, chat. How you all doing? Hope your day's off to a good start. We got our coffee. Everyone good? We got coffee? All right, let's go.
Strazza, I would have you know the leaps and bounds that I go for you.
For me.
For you.
For me.
For me to get this goddamn country club membership so that you could play golf in my hometown. Okay.
I knew we were going there.
I have to show up at this cocktail reception on Wednesday. Mind you, I'm at the beach. I got to go 2 hours back to the crib because the club is 5 minutes from the house. I have to put on a tie and wear a jacket.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a suit jacket.
Yeah. It's a nice golf course. There are things you're going to have to do.
Dude,
so
it's like 100-something-year-old club. So it's like a tie? Really, bro? In the summer on a Wednesday?
I think this will be one of the best decisions you ever make. I think you, Morgan, and the kids will be very happy. I think you'll use it a lot. I think you'll eat there often. The food is delicious. I think you'll probably start golfing more as you get older.
It was a lot easier last summer. We did the summer experience is what they call it. And it was a lovely experience. Strazza played as much golf there as I did, right?
But seriously, I think you want the membership though. You want to be a member there.
I mean, it's literally 5 minutes from my house. To not be a member is stupid because I have friends that like to play golf. Pearl Dog. Well, Pearl Dog doesn't like to play golf, but he'll play with us. Jeff Hirsch, my local buddies from my neighborhood.
Todd Gordon wants to come play.
Todd Gordon plays, right? And they have like a nice pool. Like it'd be idiotic for me not to be a member, And I have my 20-year college reunion on Saturday. Shout out Fairfield University Stags. Let's go.
So what do they do? Where will it be? What do you guys do?
Honestly, we're just gonna swing by the school, see who we run into, and just go straight to the Seagrape.
Is that it?
Straight to the. I mean, I don't make my friends. I'm just like tagging along with my buddies. I'm like, yo, what's the deal? And he's like,
Oh, that's too good. That's awesome. That'll be fun.
Hold on, wait a minute. Antonio Benazar. Antonio, is that you in the chat? Like the Antonio, like my freshman year roommate? No, my freshman year roommate is in the chat. I haven't spoken to this kid in like 20 years or more. Antonio, what's up, bro? What's happening, my man? Dude,
fun.
This kid, let me tell you about Antonio. Freshman year of college, this guy would walk around. So it was me and another Cuban guy from Miami. So they stick the Puerto Rican in the room with us. They figure, you got two Cubans. What's another Puerto Rican in the room?
It's all the same, right?
It's all the same in the eyes of a Connecticut private school. So this kid would walk around campus in like this white T-shirt with like fake muscles on. You know what I mean? Like those T-shirts with like the muscles.
Yeah.
And he would rock that all over campus all the time. And like girls would be like, wait a minute, that's your roommate? I'm like, yeah, that's my roommate. Yeah. So shout out Antonio. I hope you're going to be there on Saturday. All right.
So do you go to these like every so often?
I skipped the 15-year because I was on my honeymoon. I went to the 5-year and the 10-year. Wow. What are the chances? My freshman year roommate. What's up, Antonio? Yo, can ping me afterwards and we'll catch up. See why we do this, Spencer? Come on, hit that bumper. Let's go.
I guess so. All right.
All right, guys. Dow futures are flat this morning. Not much, down 42 points. 38,850. When are we going to see that 40,000? Strazza. S&P futures literally flat. NASDAQ futures pretty flat, up 20 points. No big deal. Not a lot happening there. Russell 2000 futures down almost 0.5% this morning. Crude oil back up a percent, pushing 75 again. Crude oil flat, 2,300. Not much happening in the market. Silver's up 1%, back above 30. Dollar slightly down a little bit. VIX flat. Bonds not doing much. Not really much going on there. Bitcoin up 500 points this morning. Let's get into the funny money. So BTC, depending on when you are choosing your open and close, we're looking at, I think we do like a 7 p.m. Eastern time, depending on when in the daylight savings time we are. So as of today, Bitcoin down 500 points, 71,200 for BTC. Is this it, Strazza? Ethereum up almost 1%, 3850. Solana 172, pretty much flat on the day. Binance, Strazza, you nailed it. Binance, highest close for the day in history. Right now, hovering above 700, 705 right now for Binance. Total crypto market cap, Spencer Israel, 2.57 trillion, creeping back up to that 3 trillion.
We're creeping.
So we're giving Binance the new all-time highs stamp of approval.
It's not so much a stamp of approval; it's just math. So, like, I'm not gonna argue with you.
Yeah, Steve, it's just math. Steve, come on, Steve. Duh.
Like, it's guys for like a week's like, oh, it's at all-time highs. I'm like, no, it's not at all-time highs, right? It's not yeah. Dawson, remember like 2 years ago when I was, we were talking about Binance at 200 and you guys poo-pooed me? First of all, that was 1 year ago.
Yeah, I do remember that. You're right.
It was at 200, remember? And it was like one of those like not a top situations where like it's either going to be a good buy or a good buy. You know what I mean?
I don't feel super comfortable owning too much Binance. Small position for me. I feel like I have to be involved now because it's such a leader, but I don't love owning this.
How about the irony and just the beauty? I mean, just you can't make this shit up of Binance closing at a new all-time high for the first time in years the day the CEO and founder goes to prison.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he went to prison like yesterday or the day before or something.
The CZ guy?
Yeah.
I can't even.
There's like a picture of him going like this.
Like he checked in. Like he checked in.
Yeah. Like he checked in. Like he was already, like we already knew he was going to prison, but he actually went to prison this week, and it's now breaking out to a new all-time high.
That's fantastic. That's really good. I had no idea.
I mean, what's more ironic, that or that the Bitcoin halving was on 420? That was a pretty good one too. I mean, that's how we know we're in a simulation, right? Like this has to be a simulation.
Did they plan the dates beforehand or no?
No, I think it's just math. I think it's just the way the math works. Like, right?
Got it.
So, like you can see it coming. Like you could do the math and see the day coming or something like that, right?
Got it. The halvening.
The two largest crypto founders are in prison, and people say crypto is legit. First of all, there are a lot of TradFi bros in prison also. In fact, way more TradFi bros in prison. And Vitalik is not in prison, by the way. Neither is Satoshi. So I would say
we actually have some we have some crypto TradFi news today, actually.
What happened?
Robinhood's buying Bitstamp.
So what does that mean, you think? Like, Strazza, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I did see that this morning. You think that matters at all or no?
And they like it. Robinhood's higher on this news. Wow. That's rare. That's rare.
Is it? I mean, it's up 1%. Is it?
Dude. To not be down on news that you're acquiring somebody?
Yeah, I guess it's a good point. Usually because you're going to spend some money, so it gets knocked down a little bit. No, it's a good call. Yeah, you're right. I've said you're right to Strazza way too many times this early in the morning.
What's the deal value, Spencer? I can't.
No, I didn't bother looking. I didn't go that deep into it. I just saw the headline. Yeah, exactly, Dawson. I that was my first thought too. The Wells notice, right? Robinhood gets a Wells notice from the SEC saying, "We got our eye on you. and then a month later, they go and buy
Who?
crypto.
Robinhood did?
Sounds to me like NASDAQ Poppy's a no coiner. Sorry, bro. Sorry, you missed the boat on that one.
I mean,
Million.
look,
Thanks,
You
guys.
don't got to be mad about it.
there's a lot of fraud. There's also a lot of fraud in the stock market. There's also a lot of fraud in the international stock market.
Yeah, there's definitely no fraud in the bond market, or in the precious metals market.
The point is,
Like literally, wasn't it Mark Twain in the 1800s? Literally, in the 1800s, said that a gold miner is a liar standing next to a hole in the ground. Like this has
Still
been
true.
going on for a long time. NASDAQ Poppy.
it's not a good reason to take your ball and go home. You don't want to miss everything else that's good about.
And by the way, NASDAQ Poppy, you are welcome to take your ball and go home. No one's going to miss you or care. But you don't have to be upset that other people are profiting. And by the way, there are scams in crypto. There are scams in TradFi. That doesn't mean we have to give the profits back. You see, I am in some of these shit coins. I am in some gold mining stocks. Between us, I hope they are scams. I hope they are. I don't have a say in the matter. I am not. I'm not qualified to judge if it's a scam or not. Right? Like I'm just a dumb idiot that line go up. Right? That's me. But there's a lot of money to be made in scams. So in some of my investments, I am actually probably rooting for it to be a complete scam. It doesn't mean I have to give the profits back because I have nothing to do with it.
Did either of you, speaking of fraud in crypto, anybody check out the short report yesterday by Carousdale Capital?
Didn't we talk about this already?
No.
Didn't we talk about this already? Oh, we talked about it in our meeting. So
no, actually, I big miss by me for not seeing this yesterday while we were doing the show. Sorry.
I mean, listen, you've been pounding the table that these crypto miners, like the cap table's a shit show, and they're paying their employees too much, right, or something like that. You've been calling this out for a while. Strazza's like, we've been talking about it. I'm like, no. You've been talking about it. I don't. This is above my pay grade. But now these short sellers are writing about exactly what you've been talking about. You want to tell the folks what that means? Mara, Riot, right?
Today, we launch a war against Bitcoin miners, an industry of snake oil salesmen that are incinerating both investor capital and the environment. Wow. What happened? Riot almost flipped red to green on the short report yesterday. They couldn't even knock it down. Nothing that they said in this report is untrue. Also, nothing that they said so these reports tend to be super aggressive at times, and sometimes too aggressive. They'll go over the top a little bit and exaggerate some things, right? I didn't see that in here. But at the same time, I don't think they're telling the market anything that's new news, right? You could have looked at the cap tables, you could have seen the employee comp expense, you could see the outstanding share counts blowing out for these companies, right? The market didn't learn anything new from the short report. So I think they're trying to knock it down. It speaks to the sentiment for these guys. I like the trades even more now. The short interests in Riot and Mara specifically are just just short of 20%. These things, if they get going, can really squeeze. So Riot against 10, I don't hate it. Mara against 20, like it even more. We'll see.
I have been really patient with these guys. I know a lot of us have been talking about it. I've been incredibly patient. And by the way, not to, give myself a little kudos, rub my shoulders off, but being patient in these names has really paid off. It has saved me, maybe not so much that much money, but definitely aggravation.
Yep.
Right. So being patient here has paid off. But if Binance is making new all-time highs, the shit coins down the cap scale are breaking out to new all-time highs. If Bitcoin gets going, then perhaps my patience will no longer be necessary, right? So let's get into some TradFi. Spencer, could throw up slide 2.
I will say,
please.
JC, it's time to go though, right? It's time for these resolutions to happen. If we're still sitting around the upper bounds here, and the week is ending tomorrow, I don't love this, right? Like, you're up here, you want to see the breakout. You don't want to see it just hang out here. No,
I'm too old to want anything. I just
I'm
want peace and quiet and a good glass of wine, maybe a football game is all I want. I will react accordingly. I'm too old to want anything. I'm good, bro.
I want to make money, and I am super long Bitcoin trying to play this breakout. If you were, wouldn't you want it to happen and not just hang out here? Because then the odds of it getting slammed and
I'm in. Listen, I'm in. There's nothing I can do about it. If we break out, I'll be adding to positions in the same way that we did on a breakout above 31. If you recall, it was flip the book long, mortgage the house, go nuts, go ham on a breakout above 31, right? So,
well, what's your because we're here.
All right, I gotta see it. We had to, dude. This is like deja vu all over again. We had this damn conversation when Bitcoin was in the high 20s, chopping up and down, chopping up and down. I'm like, I got to see it. I got to see it. I got to see it. We saw it. It ripped to 70. Right? So we're here doing the same thing again, dancing under 70, 71, 69, 68, 71, dancing. I agree. I think we get a breakout. I don't know if it's today. I don't know if it's next week. I don't know if it's next month. I think it's coming. And as soon as we do, I think we go to 100, probably 120. Just like from 31 to 70. I guess we'll see. All right, TradFi. So a few years ago, Howard Lindzen comes up to me and he's like, all right, JC, we need to find the next $100 billion company.
Yeah.
I'm like, great.
I remember.
It sounds like a great idea. Let's do that for sure. But how, my friend? How do we do that? And he goes, I don't know. I'm like, great. Thanks, Howard. So he's like, why don't you get with your team, call Strazza and the rest of your crew and figure it out. So I'm like, Strazza, Lindzen wants us to find the next $100 billion company. And Strazza's laughing. He's like, all right, let's figure it out. So we basically reversed engineered what it would take for a company to get to $100 billion. We go back, we study all the companies that went up to $100 billion. You know what we found? Not a lot of new 52-week lows on that list. In fact, the stocks that were scaling to 100 billion, we saw so many new highs along the way. So the first thing we want to do is we want to look for stocks that are making new highs, right? Like that's just like a duh. Like people are like, why do you sort by proximity to new highs? Well, if a stock's going to go to 100 billion, it's not going to do that by making a lot of new lows. You're going to see a lot of new highs along the way. We knew that. We know that. It's just math. So we start there. And if we're going to 100 billion, you know, we want to be able to catch that, like catch a big chunk of that. So we don't want to look for $80 billion companies or $90 billion companies or $99 billion companies because what the hell's the point, right? We're not going to make any money there. So we're looking for companies between 2 billion and 30 billion because even at 30 billion, you could still get a triple before it gets to 100 billion.
Yep.
And 2 billion is a pretty good spot, right? You know, it's considered a mid cap, if you will, right? It's no longer a small cap, so it's graduating from small to mid. So 2 to 30 is that sweet spot. So here's the 2 to 100 club. And why don't you talk about the industry groups and sectors and why you're not seeing a lot of utilities and consumer staples here?
This is our most exciting universe. I think the best stocks come out of here. The worst stocks are also in this universe, right? We're just not writing about them or covering them because we're scanning it for strength.
They don't make the table.
No. So the table is actually sorted by new highs. So most of these stocks are either like at or just about at new highs on an absolute basis. We filter further for relative strength, really let the cream rise to the top. But basically, what did we do? We went through all of the S&P 500 industry groups, and we, using our own kind of, and using our own judgment, we decided what was a growth industry and what was not, right? So anything that has the ability, any industry that really has the ability to scale, right, and grow at scale, we wanted to include. Sure, it might include some names that maybe shouldn't be in there, but we'd rather be safe than sorry, right? More is actually more in this case. So this is stuff like solar, it's biotech, it's also fintech and everything in technology and other growth industries. We also pick up on different thematic lists, right? We're including things like robotics fund names and things like that. And what it does is it gives us a really, really growthy list. And then we find some names in here that we probably wouldn't catch on other scans. A lot of speculative growth.
I also love, you know, I love how this is, there's no hard rule of what's allowed in here and what's not. This is a dictatorship. you know, through and through. If we
Yeah.
want to add a name or we want to add a group of names,
Right.
we do.
Like, for example,
Genomics.
the Bitcoin miners.
Yeah.
The genomic stuff probably would always be in there. They'd be in biotech, but Bitcoin miners fall under capital markets, right? With Goldman Sachs and everything else that we don't want in here. So we'll have to go and we'll basically take the components in the fund WAGMI, right? That we're all going to make it Bitcoin miners fund, and then we just add those names to the universe. So the list grows over times, right? As new thematics kind of pop up, and we say, oh, that's got to be in there. Boom, and we just
Can we talk about what a boomer Sean is? That we were in Sonoma, and he didn't know what we're all gonna make it WGMI.
Oh, that was a fun moment, wasn't it?
Like, I'm like, really, Sean? Like,
so good.
Really, Sean?
Like, Sean is like on YouTube doing like videos and on social media, and you know, you would think he knew some things, like we're all gonna make it, but you know,
like, that's not even like anything new. Like, that's like really old. You know, come on, Sean.
Well, speaking of old, based on Dawson's math, you're like 67. You're like pushing 70 years old. Did you see that? I thought that was pretty good math, Dawson. He was adding your years. It's like dog years, right? Like, you're not as old as you think you are. You're actually older because of all of your time in the market. Like, I'm probably 50.
Me or Sean?
No, you're pretty old. Sean, that would make Sean like 80 though, based on
Sean's
Dawson.
only like 4 years older than me, right? How old are you, Sean? Is Sean going to be on the show today? Sean's on the show today, right?
Yes, he is.
Ooh, Shawnee, baby. All right, I get to make fun of him to his face. I feel bad making fun of Sean, like when he's, you know, not to his face. That's not nice. It's nicer to just abuse him, like right to his face.
You know, hey, speaking of Howard and Sean, because I hope to see him there too. I asked you the other day, because I'm excited, right? Because I've never been able to go to one of these Stocktoberfest conferences, right? So I asked you the other day, hey, do we need to go to Stocktoberfest? No, nobody needs to go. I'll probably go. That's what JC said to me. No, don't worry about it. Why do I have an email now from Howard's admin asking me for a headshot and a bio? Apparently I'm presenting. Did you volunteer me?
I did not. I'm pretty sure Howard volunteered you.
Well, this will be fun.
Yeah.
Are we going to do something together?
I have no idea. You know how Howard just like does things. Like, he doesn't like tell us. He just like
wait. He just does things with a. Oh, I think I know what that's like.
Was so funny. It said nothing about me. I'm just on it. So I'm like, let me know what you need, guys.
Yeah.
Bio. All right. Cool.
Howard's like, JC, you're hosting. I'm like, oh, okay. So then yesterday, I'm like, am I still hosting? Like, what does that even entail? He's like, nah, you're not. I'm like, oh, okay.
What are the chances I can get Howard to golf with me?
He plays so much golf, and he always says how much he hates playing golf. Like, I don't know this guy. He's out of control.
That's a nice course over there, right?
Howard plays nice courses. Howard has a lot of rich friends. All right, Spencer. who do we got today on the show?
Maybe Michael Martin.
Ooh.
Not sure.
Michael
How
Martin.
about we find out in 5 minutes?
Did you send me?
Can we just do a hot corner quickly, because we got big transaction. Big transaction. Right. Can we jump in there quick?
Yeah, all right.
All right, hit it.
So hot right now.
All right.
So $100 million transaction by VA Partners for Salesforce. Salesforce gets the crap kicked out of it. VA Partners stepping in. Who the hell are VA Partners? You know who they are, Strazza. They come up every now and then, right?
You know what Value Act Capital is?
Oh, that's VA Partners?
Yeah. You do know who they are? Yeah,
Yeah,
they come up in our hot corner all the time.
VA
How much do they have in
Partners
AUM? They're pretty active on our hot corner.
is Value Act, and you can usually tell just by sorting through these filings so much. You can see a bit of the like feeder fund structure. A lot of these are master and feeder fund structures, these hedge funds. So what you'll see in the filing is they might have bought it directly by one fund, but then they'll have to list the indirect interest. So you'll see Value Act listed in the filings, even though
got it.
Partners. So this is Value
million though. And they were already insiders. So they already own 10% of Salesforce. Do I have that right?
Let's see exactly how much they own. Yeah.
They either already own 10%, or now it makes them 10% owners because they're filing a Form 4.
That's right.
See how I know that? Look at me. Come on now. Come on.
So value add.
Pretty impressive, huh, Spencer?
Very impressed.
Look at me with my SEC knowledge. Come on now.
So
Hanging
large
around these hedge fund managers and Strazza for so many years.
BlackRock, State Street. Wow.
But we're stuck below this overhead supply. This thing's a mess.
I don't even see them on here. Yeah, this might be a new position.
Yeah, but it's not $100 million is not going to be a 10% position in a $230 billion company. So they own some already.
So this is strange. I'm not sure why they even filed the Form 4. That's interesting.
They might have one of their PMs might be like on the board or something, and might actually be an insider of some kind. It might not be a 10% ownership. I was going to say that's a lot. That's $23 billion for them to be a 10% owner. So
that's interesting. Either way, I mean, this is what we tend to see, right? This is a good lesson about the hot corner. You're seeing this monster purchase at a time when the stock just got absolutely destroyed, right? This is when the insiders and even the institutions jump in and make these monster purchases. It's usually at a time when we don't want to be buying the chart. So we throw these on our list. And we
hold on. And another thing on that front, because they're an insider filing a Form 4, they get 48 hours. So that means they literally bought it the day it got crushed, correct?
Yeah, I can check the actual date. But they probably bought it yesterday or the day before.
Right. Well, this was filed yesterday, so then it had to have been the day before that.
No, they'll file same day with the.
Oh yeah,
they got 48 hours, so it's not unusual for the purchase to happen that day and then the form to hit at 5 o'clock or something. You know.
We've been seeing some action on Norfolk Southern over the last couple of days. You notice that? Back-to-back insiders.
I did.
The same guy. I think it's two different.
Yeah, and again, look at that chart. Right, been falling since March. But JC, Salesforce, would you dabble with this here? Like I can draw a pretty clear level in around 230 here. What do you don't
think you're getting cute?
And then you have the like upper bounds of this.
I know. I see your 230. I see your 230. You could go against this week's lows.
Here's the thing about Salesforce, right? Like throw a 200-day moving average on this chart. Don't yell at me now. The trend is higher. The trend is up for these guys. So, and look, we're holding the VWAP from the bear market lows. This is Salesforce, right? This is the same thing we were saying about Google. It's the same thing we were saying about Apple. Like, you want to bet against Salesforce?
No, but you want to bet on it in the short term, right? I'm not saying short the stock, but
tech revolution. I don't know. Go for it.
I mean, listen, if you got to be in it against 230, I don't hate it. I've heard dumber things come out of your mouth.
I got stopped out of some things on this software massacre since last week. And I'm annoyed because I'm probably gonna have to buy those things back. It seems like in very short time, in the case of like a service now. But I'm looking at the ones that got hit, like Salesforce and Adobe, Adobe in particular. And I'm kind of liking it. Buying Adobe down 30% in the middle of a bull market. That's for me. That's for me. So
Strazza is like, putting it in the IRA. Putting it in the IRA.
Boop. Plug them in.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't hate it. It's a little cute. I think the trade we put on yesterday, I think is way better.
Which one?
The on.
Okay. I like that one. I like it.
We'll talk about it with Sean when he comes on, but I prefer that trade much better than bottom fishing software.
Yeah.
Swiss shoes, baby. Why are you bottom fishing shitty software when you could buy Swiss shoes?
So I sold puts in Nike and bought Common because I just love Michael Jordan.
That's the dumbest thing I've heard you ever say.
No, I mean,
bought Nike because I love Michael Jordan.
Look at it. Makes me sad that nobody wears Nikes anymore. I just bought
I wear Nikes.
I still wear Nikes too. I'm telling you, it's not cool anymore. The kids aren't doing it. They want the on-ons and the Flokies and the Locas.
My wife loves the on-ons.
Yeah, there's all these designer or not even they're just like trendy brands, and they pop up. And then
You're so trendy, bro. You're so trendy. Can we bring on Michael Martin to talk about something smart?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's
You
do
don't
that.
want my fashion advice.
Jay, we've been friends for a long time. Make the call.
I mean, this is pretty professional, guys.
Nice show you got going here.
Michael Martin, what's up, my man?
How's it going? Good to see you. How you been?
You know, we got to see a lot of each other over the last couple of weeks, man. You have a good time?
It was the best. It was great. It was good to see everybody and meet a handful of people, who I had known via email or, people sliding into my DMs. But then also to see, the two Bretts and, a lot of the folks in the crowd who I actually knew as well. So it was really good. It was like a family event.
It was a family affair. It was good to have you there. You
Thank
certainly brought some good perspective and a few laughs to the table, which is, that's all we can ask for, right?
That's right. I didn't do so well in the bocce tournament, but you know what? I'll work on it next time. I'll be there for Chicago. Who knows?
A little bocce in Chicago? Maybe. We got, you should definitely come. We got one of those townhouses in right field for the Cubs game.
Yeah.
Open bar, all you can eat. And I feel like there's probably like a foosball table or something in that, if I had to guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been to Chicago a million times, obviously because of the options and the commodities markets, but I haven't been to Wrigley, but I really want to go because big fan of Pete Crow Armstrong, this Cubs center fielder. My oldest son played against him in high school. He's just a great kid.
Oh, wow.
He's gonna be a superstar. He already is, but he'll eventually be a leadoff hitter there. So it'll be fun to go to Wrigley.
I feel a little bit guilty that we're not actually going to Wrigley. We're just going to the townhouse in right field. Does that count? Sean, does that count? Sean is like the the aficionado of Chicago here.
Is that a really cool thing to do that's like unique to Wrigley Field?
I've never done that. I've actually only gone to Wrigley.
Yeah.
I saw Josh just said on the chat here, PCA was a stud. You remember he was like 0 for 16 last year when they brought him in just to kind of bring him up to see, because the game gets faster the higher up you get to the MLB.
Yeah. And
he hit a 2-run shot against Pittsburgh, I believe, into right field. So that was really great. But yes, PCA is a stud, man. I love baseball. You played baseball. You should know, right? You played D1 ball, right?
Yep. I mean, I was a pitcher, so some would argue that doesn't make me an athlete. And if you see me run the bases, you would agree that I was probably not that athletic. But, I had a pretty decent curveball that got me into a better school than my grades and my SAT could have probably got me into. Fairfield, Fairfield's a good school. Like some of these GPAs and SATs were off the charts. I was okay, but it wasn't like that. And
go Stags.
So baseball helped me get into a better school. My internship interview at Merrill Lynch was a joke. I was just next in line. They were getting Fairfield kids every summer. So my interview was a joke. So helped me get the internship, helped me get into the rest is history. So like baseball got me here. I mean, as crazy as that sounds.
We had Michael on the pod yesterday, and this is one of those themes that keeps coming up. He played hockey. So it's not just sports, but also, JC, you're speaking to the network that you made in college and how that helped you in the future. So we talked about both of those things on the pod last night. And we talk about them with a lot of the people who come on the pod. Both those things. Sports is a big one.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys are athletes.
And I have a lot of respect for people who played sports, especially at high levels, because I remember the torture of running hills at 6 o'clock in the morning, hungover as shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that wasn't fun. Like, that was, it took a lot of mental toughness to, keep running and, instead of just saying, fuck it, and running straight to your dorm and going to sleep like the rest of your friends. You know what I mean? Like, that was hard. That was really hard. That's why, we have bad days in the market and, you have bad days in life. And no matter, it wasn't as hard as that. Like, that was the hardest shit I ever had to do,
It definitely builds character, which is really what you need when you trade, right? Because it's not about being smart. I mean, that's the mistake I think a lot of new folks make is like, let me study, let me get all these books, let me take all these courses. But self-knowledge to me is the most important, characteristic or attribute a person can bring to the table. That's just my opinion, of course, but I have so much respect for folks who can play college sports because the time constraints are just phenomenal. Like to try to compete academically and to try to play a sport, like there's been very, very arduous. I didn't play a college sport because I was working while I was in, college. So I had a different time constraint. So I had to be it taught me how to be super efficient with my time. Thank God I could type with 10 fingers because every week it was like, every teacher thought that you were just taking their class. So they'd be like, yeah, read this book and get me the paper by Monday. And I'm sitting there going, for the love of Christ and everything that's holy, I have to read 1,000 pages in 7 days. So I would cram read, get out first drafts, and then I would make my money in the rewrites and in the editing process. But I used to see some of my classmates that were on the crew. They'd be out on the Hudson River up by Ween Stadium, rowing at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, oh man, I really respect these guys. It's really,
that dynamic that you're describing, I saw firsthand in college too. It made me sad. I did not play a sport at UConn, but I worked for the counseling program for intercollegiate athletes. So I tutored them. So I would tutor the football players, and these guys, I mean, they didn't have time to study. And they would be like, dude, I had like 2-a-days today. I have no time. I got the economics test tonight. It's like, and they weren't going pro. They were just there, to be on the offensive line and protect the quarterback. There was no shot of ever going to the pros, but they also didn't really have a shot at getting good grades. So it was just kind of,
what's the point, right?
Yeah.
My neighbor here at the beach, she played lacrosse at UNC. She just graduated, and she's on her final interview with Balyasny.
Yeah, it's awesome.
For those of you who don't know, it's a monster multi-strat firm in New York. These guys, they're killers. So she, playing lacrosse in North Carolina is a big deal. So I was like, good luck. Her interview was yesterday. So I'm looking forward to running into her and being like, so how'd it go? Did you get the gig?
Yeah. That's
awesome. All right, Michael, I wanted to, when we were in Sonoma, you brought up some really interesting stuff. And I was fascinated by, kind of the way you do things, because I know people who do it the exact opposite way. Yeah. In terms of position sizing and things like that, where, Brian Shannon was on the show earlier this week or last week, and he was talking about how he puts on big positions initially and then trims some immediately, and then let the rest run. Yeah. You do the exact opposite of that. Yeah. You actually start out with starter positions and build along the way. Can you talk about that and why you do that? I thought that was great.
Yeah, I mean, like you, I love Brian. I mean, we look like twins anyway. So, he's one of my favorite guys in the market. I believe Brian's a swing trader, so that would be congruent, I think, with swing trading behavior, where you kind of piecemeal your way out of a position. I'm more of a position trader, where I want to kind of nibble. I might buy 5 to 10 times suboptimally to get where I want to be. So then the market can go do the heavy lifting. Both strategies work. I think it really comes down to your temperament and your personality. I have a cast iron stomach, where if I didn't do this, I would be like an emergency room surgeon, or I'd be like, 911, what's your emergency? Like, I just don't freak out under pressure, which makes a lot of sense why I trade mostly commodities, some stocks. But so that's the difference. I think it's as traders, we're kind of defined by leverage and our holding periods in many ways, right?
And can you talk about like when you decide to add, right? So like when you put on a new position, you're starting small, like one unit. Like how do you think about it mathematically? Like when do you add? Do you plan ahead of time as to when and where you're going to add? Do you figure it out as you go along? You're raising stops, right? Like where are you taking profits on those? Are you taking profits and then adding them back, right? You mentioned some of that stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I trade around a core position. If that happens, I would say that's incidental. Usually I'm looking to buy with strength. It doesn't have to be a very material breakout, but I want to know that there's other buyers, because although we have all the money in the world, I like to know that I'm with other buyers. They tend to support their prices, right? So I can kind of take advantage of crowd behavior. And then, depending on structure, if I could buy above resistance, I would do that. If not, I would use a percentage. So I kind of vacillate between the two, depending on what the chart, shows me. I'm just basically a price action trader, probably like a lot of folks. But I just know that what I don't want to do is be in my ego and come in with a 5% risk unit, because really what could happen? You have bad luck, you have bad timing, you have bad analysis. After 36 years, I don't think my analysis is bad. Right? I do have blind spots. I'm not infallible. That typically isn't my bigger issue. What usually happens is that momentum stalls, right? And after diversification, that's one thing that we all need as traders is momentum. And if the momentum stalls, now I'm like, I think I mentioned that. It's like, I don't want to come into the market and say, buy me 120, August soybeans and have the trader go sold. Because I'm like, oh no, that should have taken a lot of slippage and a lot of skid to get into the trade, right? Which it normally does. But if someone was waiting there to unload 100 contracts on me, automatically now, like, I want to get out of the trade because there's probably a lot more to go, behind it. So it incorporates a lot of stuff, from floor trading, which doesn't really exist anymore. But that's really my ethos is I'd rather make my mistakes or take it, fall victim to the bad timing, right? Or the bad luck and have that give me paper cuts and then kind of scale into the winners so that I could hold them. Right. And that's the holding is usually 1 to 3 months, which is still trader. It's not like letting a trade become an investment. Really. That's more for the downside of it. But I like it when the market moves go and you just sit and let the market do the heavy lifting. And then, yes, I trail my protective stop with worst case, a percentage based, which I would figure out nowadays. I just kind of know it and I can see it because I can feel it, right? I feel like I'm at one with, not like I'm some kind of bong toting California granola bar over here, but I feel like I have a good feel for the market. So
California granola bar. Hilarious.
That's me. So I'll trail with minimum percentage based, protective stop below the market if I'm long. And that spot will satisfy two things. One, if I get stopped on that position, it's like when you have a party. You can have people who show up early and help you, people who show up exactly on time. Then you have the people who are fashionably late. I'm kind of all three if those are my entries, right? But when the party's over, everyone has to go at the same time. Don't come back in for one for the road. Don't ask for a cup of coffee or a demi-tasse. Just get the hell out of my house. The party's over. I want to go to bed. So that's why I stop everything. I don't like scaling out of my winners because that really deals with regret. And I just have a good sense that when the move is over, the move is over. There's no point in holding on to a piece for posterity. I know guys that are in the short-term space that do things completely differently, and they look at me like a complete idiot. But it's just different personalities, different emotional makeup.
I think that makes sense.
That's why I'm fascinated by, listen, a lot of people can be successful. And I think it's for people in the audience that are listening to this, like, there are people that are successful that do things one way. There are people that are successful that do things in the complete opposite way, right? It's really a personality thing. Can you talk about your experience on the floor? Which floor were you on? How long were you there? And when you transitioned over, how was that transition? Was it difficult? Was it easier than you thought? Can you touch a little bit about that? I'm very curious because I was never on the floor.
Right. So truth be told, I never had a seat. I didn't own or lease my own seats, but my best friends did. So what I would do is I would go down and they would get me in on a guest. So I would be standing there in the market, right, kind of as a guest. I shouldn't be saying this publicly, but the markets are largely gone anymore as far as floor trader behavior. So I learned several times per week just to hear the crowd, like when prices came into resistance, what did the crowd do? What did it sound like? Right? When it passed through, what did the shorts who were typically putting their buy stops above those highs, how did they behave? And so it's hard to put that because there was so much energy in the room. It's hard to articulate that in words. But that's kind of how I did it, is I kind of hijacked the system to take advantage of my buddies who did have seats or clear natural gas.
And which floor are you talking about?
So this is primarily, NYMEX and what was then called coffee, sugar, cocoa, cotton, which is now the ICE, the Intercontinental Exchange. They were both in Lower Manhattan. COMEX, I think, was downstairs. NYMEX was upstairs along the river. And then coffee, sugar, cocoa. It was all basically the World Financial Center.
Right.
But, you know, if you knew somebody, they could bring you in as a guest. Little did they know that I was the trader PM clearing through these very guys. So I was, I was very lucky to be in that proximity, right? You can't really do that. You know, Sean's from Buffalo. It's impossible to do. But I was in Manhattan, and a couple of these guys were childhood friends. I had really two or three childhood friends who went to the floor. Many of the others, if they didn't go to college, they became cops or they became firemen. And so I said, there's probably some kind of tactical advantage of my being down there, but also talking with other people who were managing, big books, of business. I used to see, Eric Bowling a lot on the floor of the NYMEX. He was a big energy trader.
Natural gas, right?
Natural gas, heat and oil, and crack spreads, all that
What
kind of
happened
stuff.
to Eric Bowling? I mean, Eric Bowling, and I remember following his stuff, and part of the reason that I was inspired to become a technician, he was very technically oriented, and then what? He just became like a political talking head. Is that what happened?
He was at the Money Show last year, and he was talking finance, not politics.
Yeah. He was a baseball player too. Didn't he get drafted by like the Pirates or something?
And his badge was RBI. His floor badge was RBI.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
It was awesome. He was a great guy. I mean, he probably wouldn't even remember me now because we're going back 30 years. But those guys, what I loved about the traders is if that you were down there, there was definitely like a brotherhood, and they all basically loved me and helped me out. Like I cleared, a lot through some of the locals, but mostly ED and F man.
Yeah. So
forever.
So that being the case, was it hard for you to evolve or adapt as the floor gradually went away? For example, like, did you have more transparency back then? Like, was it easier for you to execute back then? Like, how did things change? And what was that like?
That's a damn good question, Strazza. I could see why you're on the morning show and one of the top guys in the world in this space, because your insights are prescient. So I kind of listened. The way I looked at going to the floor and standing on the side and being able to kind of call in my orders, being right there, was I felt like I was eavesdropping on a conversation that other people were having. I already knew what my rules were. And if anyone wants to see how I did it, I did a live stream on my YouTube channel called Trader Mindset. If you go to the live tab and click on it, you can see exactly how I would go into Lotus 1, 2, 3 and stagger everything, not unlike how an options trader would look at a matrix, for example. And I remembered it. I had a good memory. So I kind of knew, like, if it goes here, that's what I'm going to go do. And if it goes here, I'm going to adjust my protective stop this way. I'll have my other buy stop to add a risk unit here.
Right.
And I was watching the crowd, kind of watching crowd behavior, and then calibrating that with what I already knew how to do kind of systematically. There weren't really the back testers back then. It was there, there was no internet. There was none of that. So I had to kind of all do it by hand and just do it by, just brawn, and understand supply and demand, and then watch and see, like, okay, here's my ethos. Here's my thesis. What did the people who are actually doing it? Because the beautiful part of the crowd on the floor was that you had people like Bowling who were trading their own money, but then you also had people who were trading client paper. And so you get to see right in one room, right, in 300-400 square feet, what the world actually thought about natural gas, right? You'd see in 200 square feet what the world was thinking of cocoa or sugar.
And,
you know what I'm saying?
You're actually trading with too, which is different. We never know that today either.
Right. You can kind of see like who's who, like, and like some
more
of the
of a poker situation in the open outcry, right?
100%, because you knew that, a lot of the locals. So you also learn tricks of the trade. Like, so if the market was biased long and the locals, and they all kind of shared information, they could see, they get the benefit of client order flow. There's supposed to be a Chinese wall.
Right.
Was there a Chinese wall? Yeah, I think it was saran wrap Chinese wall, unless it was. So it was kind of like, yeah, can you see me? Right? I'm hiding from you, JC. So I would incorporate all that information as kind of proprietary, because I was able to eavesdrop on those conversations and kind of see, like, I don't remember the names now, and certainly I wouldn't want to out them, but they were good guys, and I could see like what they were doing because they were position traders. And it also introduced me to you can do this in commodities, a little harder to do in stocks in the concept of an intra commodity spread. So if they were carrying a long position into Thursday, Friday, say they're up 10, 20 cents in a position, instead of liquidating and going home flat, they oftentimes would keep the front month and sell a deferred month. So they're on both sides of the market. So if they wake up to bad news on Monday, they're not going to give it all back. And since they are the market, they're market makers, floor brokers, floor traders, they could just lift that back month, maybe for 1 or 2 cents loss, because they could basically, they're making their own markets.
Got it. Wow.
Yeah.
This is just so cool. We have people on here, and you're one of them, where I am just so jealous of your experiences, and just talking to you is helpful. But God, to be there, that must have been awesome. So this is a treat for the chat. Sure,
it was great, man, for me too, because now I have so much kind of nostalgia for that. Just like seeing Colin Wilkinson originate the role of Jean Valjean and Les Mis in March of '87, and then seeing a 19-year-old Lea Salonga come in and originate the role of Kim in Miss Saigon. Like, you could never go back to that moment in time. Like, that's uniquely my experience. Yeah. So I savor those moments. Dawson, this is a red Dalmatian dog. It's not a cat, so maybe you're on the No, I'm just kidding. I love you, Dawson. Don't know who you are, man or woman, but I have some Argos.
Talk about your art. Talk about your art. Explain what it is. Tell everybody what you told us last night.
So this, a friend of mine.
Did you paint that?
Yeah, it's one of them. It's drying. That's why it's there. I just don't have any more wall space. It's a tongue-in-cheek title. It's mom telling dad about their new red Dalmatian. You can kind of see dad's mouth. It was an art project. A friend of mine teaches a graduate class called Painting Genres. Lindsay August Salazar, who's a phenomenal painter in her own right. And I'm friends with her and her husband. They both have artwork in permanent collections. I'm not in their league. Nonetheless, she invited me to sit in on her class called Painting Genres at Otis College in Los Angeles. So this was part of the final project, which I took it very seriously. I'm mostly self-taught. So this is acrylic with the red is oil stick.
Is this a new hobby for you? Like, how long have you been painting? When did you get into painting?
So I kind of got into I was very creative despite my entrepreneurial, we talked yesterday on the podcast, so I don't want to give away the whole show, but about 16, I was a big jock. We spoke on the podcast. So my time was tied up with working and playing sports. But at those days, I used to have the chalk pastels with my mom's Final Net hairspray, and I would kind of do that in the house because it was cheap, easy, and it didn't make a big mess. So it was perfect for me. And I played guitar since I was 7, and so I kind of would kind of go back and forth. Mostly looking back, it wasn't to become a great guitar player. Now, I study taking classes with Mike Stern, but at the end of the day, it was more, I needed something that was meditative, and I didn't know it at the time. And so when I could quiet my mind and create output, so through art or through just trying to learn, some Rush or Steely Police, Steely Dan song, it would get me out of my head. Yeah. I am a Fender Telecaster. I have a Kramer Beretta that is a collector item. So I have a couple of. I have a 61 Gibson. So they're kind of like retirement plans in that they are
worth a lot of money.
Yeah, they're kind of anything over 20. So Dawson says PRS. I think that means Paul Reed Smith, who's a great guitar maker. I like him. I just don't have one. So I kind of do that as an escape. Like if you saw the gigantic mess, I've got 5-foot canvases over here. I have 6-foot framed canvases that aren't painted. So there's really no more room. And I'm working on 2 things. I don't really share it because it's like, I don't know. I'd like to get a gallerist. I'm kind of at that stage now. But I do so much. My ethos right now is like, I always made a promise that if I had any success, I would give back to the community. So that's why when anyone asks me like on a show or asks me to speak or this and that, which isn't terribly, frequent, that's why I do the show every day. It's kind of like chicken soup for the trader's soul. If 5 to 10 minute little message every day. Usually it's the show. If you haven't seen it, it's autobiographical. I talk about all my failures and warts and all. Yeah. Don't forget, I give away the audiobook. I still have that link. We can look it up. Maybe Spencer can share it in the chat.
They want to know if you're on Twitter, Michael. Can people find you on Twitter or no?
I'm not really active on Twitter, other than I use it as a syndication for the actual podcast. But it should be Trader Mindset or Martin Chronicle. You can see me there.
I love the fact that you're painting. I went through a little bit of a stage myself. My wife and I, when we first started dating, one of my good buddies, his girlfriend and wife now, was an art teacher. So, you know, she would rent out bars and we would go and paint and drink beers and it was awesome. And my wife and I were terrible, but it was a fun experience. It was something to do in the West Village back in the day. So totally see you. But while we have you on, I know we have a couple more minutes. Can we talk just about current markets? How you're looking at things? Anything on your mind that you want to share that's, you know, front and center?
Yeah, I mean, like everybody, I see everything, right? I have all the data feeds, and you know, I kind of like a sniper. I'm like ready, aim, 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 aim. So I kind of sit and wait because I don't have any emotional needs to have to put on trades basically. So there's a few setups that I talked about. You know, we talked about some short squeezes in Carvana and I think B. Riley, which has since collapsed since I was on this show a few months ago.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, commodities are kind of more seasonal where stocks tend to be secular. You're a CMT. So you don't need, I'm riding my NVIDIA. It just seems to be like boom or bust. Everyone's madly in love. And I just keep thinking like, man, I hope this is like an infinity or zero trade, right? Because the stock can't do any wrong. And how do you know if you're caught up in the moment, like you're madly in love with that new person that you've met? Is like, what's your sell strategy? Where's your exit point? If you don't have one, you're in love. You know what I'm saying? And so I think just like JC, don't laugh out loud, but I'm thinking Vertical Net, CMGI, Internet Capital Group, Siebel System, Global Crossing, Sun Micro, Cisco, and of course JDS Uniphase.
Oh, stop.
And that's where we are. That's where we are.
Why would I laugh? Why do you think I would laugh at that?
I don't know, because you're smarter than me and you're actually the CMT. I'm just a self-taught guy, but I think people have lost their object.
Just letters and math, bro.
It's letters and math. I mean, yes, I made the joke in Sonoma, what's my buy signal? If the chart's in the top right corner, it's a buy signal. Back then, it was like if there were 4 or 5 letters in the ticker, it was a buy signal because, you know, revenues didn't matter. But then there's like some old crop. You know, I'm waiting for the cocoa trade. There's still a lot of big problems with supply. If you plant cocoa plants today, it's not like growing beefsteak tomatoes in New York State every year or in the tri-state area. If you plant cocoa today, it's not going to give significant yield for 5, 6, 7 years. So if there's problems with supply, they aren't going to be fixed anytime soon. Those saplings or whatever you want to call them aren't going to yield anything until, you know, who knows, 2028, 2030. So it's going to be a volatile ride in cocoa. You know, natural gas, I'd like to nibble a little long. Coffee's certainly getting there. I was waiting for August soybeans to take out 1250. That's the end of the crop year. So there's some spread trades that, again, you can do in commodities. There's some soybean and some corn next week because you kind of put them on by date, not necessarily by price, although you can enter them as limit orders. And that would be where you buy one corn contract and you sell a deferred month. These would be September, December, or August, November trade in beans. So they would be considered old crop, new crop. You know, spread trades tend to be very, very reliable because you're dealing with, you know, decades of information. But, you know, I'm still looking at I'm mostly trading like mega cap, large cap stocks. So I'll just let my NVIDIA run and then look at some of these commodity trades. But other than that, it's been a slow week. And sometimes that's just the way that it goes.
But more time for painting.
Yeah, I'm actually having lunch today. I don't know if I should mention the guy's name, but there was a guy who was sitting next to you who was kind of also sitting next to me. I have known him for quite some time. As it turns out, he moved to LA. So I'm actually going to go have lunch with him today after the close, kind of catch up. So it was great.
Tell him I said what's up.
I will. I absolutely will.
All right, Michael, listen, I appreciate it. The chat's blowing up. They're loving this. We'll definitely have you back to chat more. This is great.
Can I just add that only on the West Coast can you have lunch after the close?
Haha, it's true.
Ridiculous.
It's true.
Ridiculous. It's absurd.
It is
It's
great,
wrong.
though. It's
What it
great. I
is.
did it for 5 years. It was fantastic. Good for you, Michael.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael.
Good to see you all.
Appreciate it.
Thanks again for having me. It's really, really special. Thanks so much.
Of course.
All right.
I love
In a
it.
couple of weeks, Michael is going to be on the Off the Charts podcast. So stay tuned for that.
We had a lovely talk last night. We're just having such a good time doing this. I'm so glad we started doing this. What an interesting guy, right?
Yeah.
He's like a creative soul.
I mean, listen, let's be serious. I mean, yeah, Michael's an interesting guy, but over the years, when you talk to traders, you talk to different investors, portfolio managers, you learn a lot of random, interesting things about these people, right? You notice?
Yeah, I mean, I really just like him because he's from New York, but he's an awesome guy. Uber.
Let's go.
Uber's getting some today.
Uber.
LFG.
Strazza was your stock of the week last man. All credit
Was
to
it?
you.
Who
I
who
waited
made
a
that
couple of
stock of the
days. I
week?
think. No, I'm just
For the
saying.
record,
yeah,
I'm
you
pretty
did.
sure
I
all of
just-
us like this trade in Sonoma.
Okay.
But yes, this is a Strazza stock. First of all, this has been a Strazza stock for a
Yeah.
long time.
How much do I have to pound the table for it to be my stock?
It has been for a long time, but now it's our stock. Like, it
I
can't
just
be
said.
your stock
I
forever.
just said it. It was.
I love it when the boys.
I
are
gave you
involved.
credit just
I love
now.
it when
But let's remember why. Let's remember why. For me personally, why I liked it so much is because the risk was so well defined. Like it just, we know we're wrong so quickly. That's my favorite part. Longer term uptrend, retesting former resistance. Check.
It was May 29th. Was it May 29th? Or May 30th? May 30th. That's when I knew. May 30th, everything was getting killed. Remember, Uber was like basically like green on the day.
Yeah.
Not breaking that big level. If Bears couldn't knock it down when XLK was down like 2%. I don't know.
But it took a couple. It took a week. I mean, it took a couple. It was hanging right around those lows. It took a couple.
But guess
days.
what? If you were doing this a la a risk reversal, selling puts and buying calls, I mean, you're sitting pretty because this thing did not budge to the downside. Those
but you
puts-
weren't getting paid to sell puts.
Yeah,
That's
they
why we
paid
did
for
them.
my calls. They paid for my calls.
All right, nice.
Calls. A lot of time. Listen. A lot of times that is true. The implied vol is lower than it usually is. You're still getting paid. It's still money. It might not be as much money as you would hope based on the historic volatility trends, but it's still money. It still counts. Am I crazy?
Nope.
I can't control what implied volatility is doing when the chart is where I want it. I kind of have to
Agree.
take that price. What?
I agree.
I don't know.
Just because it would have worked doesn't make it a good trade. I agree with that, Shawnee baby.
Listen.
All right, before we bring in Sean, Spencer, what's going on out there other than Binance making new all-time highs the day or the week that
wait for the record on Uber, this is a sympathy move this morning. This is Lyft. Lyft is up 10% today. They gave some upgraded financial targets for their investor days happening right now. So this is Lyft. So thank you, Lyft, is what we should be saying.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's fine.
Right, Strazza? I don't think so.
This
I
is a
think so.
technical.
Yeah, this is a technical move. Yeah.
No, the chart looks great, and we wanted to see it come off this level, so it's just starting to work. We'll see what happens.
All right.
Palantir. We should shorty
Couple
that
charts.
from the hot corner yesterday.
Couple charts. Can we bring up Lululemon, please?
Yep.
Earnings last night. EPS beat. Sales beat. Guidance did not beat. The EPS guidance for Q2 came in light. The revenue guidance for Q2 came in light. The full year guidance was in line with estimates. Actually, it was higher than estimates on a full year basis. but light on a Q2 basis, which is the quarter we're in right now. So that was Lulu's situation. It is up here.
It's down 20 points since the open, by the way. Down 20 points since the open.
I know.
But I will say that there's a potential island reversal setting up. Granted, the market opened 7 minutes ago, but potential island reversal setting up there. It's really got to hold that 320. If it can't, then probably not an island reversal. But as of right now, 7 whole minutes since the market opened, the potential island reversal in the Lululemon is in play.
This stock has to be, and I have no data to support this, but I feel like it just has to be one of the more volatile opening stocks that I can think of. Some stocks tend to move a lot more on their reports, and it seems like every quarter this thing is gapping up and gap. I mean, look at that gap right there. That last gap, that was earnings, right? So this thing just gaps up. Every gap here was earnings, pretty much.
We were 1 day away from getting stopped out of our short, exposure in Lululemon and options trade, but it was a bearish position. 1 day from getting stopped out, and then it got destroyed, and it ended up being one of the best trades we put on our year. So that's the market. That's the market for you.
All right. Big loser of the day is Five Below. Do we have the Five Below chart? I think we do. Down and then 17%.
And what is Five Below? It's just like one of those cheap stores that sell things cheap.
Yep. They have a ton of they have tchotchkes. Clothes and tchotchkes.
Hey, but isn't it like everything is $5 or below? Is that what that is? Like a dollar store, but $5 foot long?
Yeah. I think so. I haven't been in one in a very, very long time. So
well, Five Below is literally right now making new multi-year lows as we speak.
Yeah.
So listen, if you're looking for some bottom fishing, watch how this acts. If it could find some support here, maybe,
Guys,
a great example, Strazza. We had an in-depth conversation about this yesterday in our team meeting about these retail consumer locations, brick and mortar, and consumer products. Here we are talking about Lululemon. We talked about ONON. We're about to talk about that with Sean now. Here's another example, Five Below. We're buying a consumer product yesterday. We were shorting Lululemon months ago. Five Below's making new lows. We don't have a position, but Five Below's making new lows. Like, there's action in these names, both long and short.
I'm writing.
Exhibit A, Strazza. No?
It's fine for me. I'm just watching stuff moving on the open. I think got to write about these Bitcoin miners today. You see some of these charts?
I am looking at them every day, my friend. Every day.
Well,
I mean,
well, now that oh no, you said miner. Never mind.
Look at the
I was thinking now that an exchange just got bought.
Dude, is Bitstamp a miner?
No, it's an exchange.
It's an exchange. Robinhood up 3.5%, by the way.
They love it. They love it.
God, you almost never see that.
Thank you, Spencer.
Yeah,
a company spends money and the stock goes up. Even if it's a good deal, Amazon went down the day it bought Whole Foods, like a lot, and that was a good deal.
Here's what's going on, and here's exactly what Robinhood's doing. Robinhood stock had trouble getting up off the ground at the bear market lows when everything else were completing reversal patterns. Remember last year? Wasn't good for Robinhood. When did the stock start moving up? When they started talking about how well they're doing because of their crypto transaction fees. This company, because of what they did, by the way, barely makes any money on equities trading. They did that. Crypto, they make a ton of money. All of their growth comes from crypto trading. Problem is, only about 30% of their revenues come from crypto trading, right? So they're trying to make that piece of the pie that's crypto and not equities larger. That's why they're buying Bitstamp. They want more of these crypto fees. The market loves it because that's what's driving their growth, not the equities trading. So they're trying to become more of a crypto trading platform than an equities trading platform. And this move makes it clear that not only do they understand that, but they're doing it. So the market loves it. And I love to see the stock up on this news because we've been saying this for Robinhood. It's great that they have this little crypto growth, right? And that's helping their chart break out and whatnot. But where do they go from here? They're really going to compete with Coinbase in the future? I don't know. Maybe if they're buying Bitstamp, they're going to really try to. So that's interesting. No?
No, it raises your eyebrows.
Fundamentals with me. I say I go on these rants and then just
because I'm not gonna fight you on it because I'm deferring to you. I mean, right? You know what I mean? Like this is kind of your area of expertise. If you want to know what wine to drink with your steak, you call me and you keep your mouth shut and you listen, and I will school you. Right? This is one of those. This is the opposite. Right? Like if you think that this is like that, then I mean that sounds right to me.
I didn't know that you held my fundamental analysis in such high regard. That makes me feel good.
It's a low bar with mine, right? So like, and right? Like that's like being like, oh, I run faster than JC. It's like, well,
the way that we try to think about fundamentals is so quick and dirty and high level, right? If you think about the things I'm saying, I'm not talking about the gross margins usually or the EBITDA or this or that, right?
Margins are so gross.
But no, we keep it really high level, right? Like we're focused on the stories here, right? Big growth stories, things that don't kind of smell good, stuff like that. And I think it helps.
Good work there, Spencer. Good work, buddy. Can we bring in Sean, talk about something important? Let's talk about something important.
Uber.
The leads are weak. You're Shawnee, baby.
All right, boys. We either need to update my intro video or I need to get a haircut because that guy in that video is not this guy.
All right. Well, this is above my pay grade. Strazza is pinging us in the chat. I'll be in the back room YOLOing if you need me. Chief YOLO officer doing what he does.
Look, I love that Strazza's pounding the table on his Uber trade that's working out, and that's great. But JC, you and I know this. Like, just because a trade makes money doesn't mean it was a good trade. Conversely, just because a trade does not work out doesn't make it a bad trade. We learned this from Annie Duke.
More importantly.
Yeah, we learned this from Annie Duke. She talks about how, just because that's called resulting. What Strazza's doing is resulting. He's seeing the result and he's saying, hey, that's a great trade.
You resulting son of a bitch.
No, because we had different plans going in. I had conviction that level was not going to break. So even if implied vol is low, isn't it still an okay thing to try to collect some premium?
No, I have no problem with you being bullish on the stock. I'm saying selling puts when you're not getting paid to do it is not a good trade. And over time, if you keep doing that, you're going to get hurt and you're going to regret it.
That's right.
I got paid.
Of course you did. It doesn't make it a good trade.
Guys,
you're focusing on the results.
In the Patriots Super Bowl, right, against Seattle, when they should have given the ball to Marshawn Lynch, right? The result. So in hindsight, according to Annie Duke, the probabilities were that he actually made the right play call, even though in hindsight, everybody says just give the damn ball to Marshawn Lynch. So the resulting here, we got to have Annie Duke on the show. Can we get Annie Duke on the show?
That would be great.
If I have conviction that level's not going to break, why wouldn't I sell puts? Regardless.
If you had that conviction, I'd rather you just load up on calls and go ham on that.
Yeah. But I didn't have conviction that the stock would rise. I'm just trying to figure this out here, guys.
We're just trying to figure it out.
No, this is a good discussion to have. This is good. People can learn from this.
You're scolding me for selling too many puts. Everybody's yelling at me for selling puts. I thought we liked selling premium here. I'm just trying to,
when we're getting paid, like you're taking your umbrella out on a sunny day. You know what I mean? Like that don't make any sense, right? Trying to build a snowman on the beach.
I got bad trades to make, but
I'm trying to explain to my daughter how we can come to the beach in January and we could build a snowman on the beach, and her head is like, psh.
Ooh, yeah. All right, so you want to talk about this on? Yeah, no.
Do it. I think of like Will. I'm like thinking about Will Ferrell and Anchorman. I want to be on you.
Oh man, nice callback. So look, we put a trade on. You've already talked about it a little bit. This on. This is a setup. Look at that base. Those are the kind of base breakouts we like to buy. We really like to buy. Volatility is cheap here, so we kept it simple and bought calls. But more to the point, JC, and we talked about this a little bit later yesterday afternoon. The thing that I really love about this setup that isn't really clear in this chart that we're showing is that Anon came public in September of 21. In the, let's call it the post-IPO period of approximately 3 months. Within that 3 months is when it made its all-time high. That all-time high has not been touched since. And right now, if Anon follows through here, that all-time high is at $55. That's easily attainable here if we get some follow through. And I don't know about you, JC, but the first real all-time high following an IPO, I don't know, that gets me excited. I think that could be a high potential. And this is a fashion name, right? I mean, how many times have we seen stocks that, brands that are fashionable in the moment, right? That just have monster runs. I mean, this has that. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but this is the type of stock that has the potential to go on and double in short order. And if it does, we're in long calls here. We are positioned to really hit a big one here if it works out.
And Sean knows fashion. That's
yeah. Oh yeah, I know fashion.
But this just reiterates something that I've been personally thinking about a lot and pounding the table every time that we get together is this consumer bifurcation of monster winners and huge losers. For every Wingstop, you've got a Denny's. For every, right? You've got a Five Below. Like there's just, these consumer brands, products, brick and mortar, there's just huge winners. And they go on and on and on and on and on for reasons that we cannot fathom because that's just not our world. But Abercrombie and Fitch, like, are you shitting me? Like, who wears this crap?
Right. But every one of these names that you're mentioning in the past, they've had big runs. Every one.
Look at Crocs. Crocs had a huge run, got destroyed, making a comeback. I mean, I don't know how many kids you guys have. I got 3 of them. They're wearing Crocs all the time. Mary said yesterday in the chat that her kids grew up on Crocs. Like,
I owned a pair of Crocs once. They were all right. But I joked in the blog post.
You're not 2 years old.
Yeah. Well, I joked in the blog post where I wrote up about this trade that I don't own a pair of Anons, but if this trade pays, then I'm in the market for new sneakers. So I'll be picking up a pair to celebrate it.
It's funny. I actually did buy a pair of Anons because we traded this, I don't know, like a year and a half ago or something like that. So I bought a pair just to see what all the hype was about because I was getting abused. Like, I think it was in a conference call, one of our conference calls. And I was like, I've never even heard of this brand. And I'm getting abused on the chat. People were like, JC, you got to get on it. These are great shoes. I was like, all right, my bad. Look, quietly, I just go and buy the shoes and I forgot about it. And my wife's like, you bought another pair of shoes? You don't need another new pair of shoes. I'm like, oh, I'm just doing market research. Everyone's telling me that these are so good, blah, blah, blah. So she's like, should I get a pair? I'm like, yeah, why don't you get a pair and try it out? So anyway, I don't really wear mine. My wife loves them. I think she's on her second or third pair already. She loves them.
Of all the impressions that you do, no impression is better than the one you do of your wife. I love it.
I hear it a lot.
Yeah. All right. Well,
like my college reunion's on Saturday and she's not coming. So she's like, so you're just going to go? You're just going to drink with your friends? And I'm going to stay here taking care of the kids? I'm like, yeah. You want me to not drink at my 20-year college reunion?
Spencer, we need a hype reel of JC just doing these wife impressions, like a 5-minute reel of this. It'd be great.
I know.
Come out of my wife's mouth.
But it's so hard to go back and find them. So
hey, by the way,
I don't know.
Loved having Mike Martin on this morning, and JC, or the guys mentioned it earlier. We Strazza and I had him on. We recorded an episode of Off the Charts podcast yesterday. It won't be live for a few more weeks for everybody, but man, Michael's a great guy. Been around the block. He's got a lot of great stories. He's a fun guy to talk to.
Can you throw up the link, Spencer, for anybody interested in that on trade?
Did you unlock that trade? Because that was for premium.
No, I know. I know
Okay.
it's for premium, but you can put the link to where the trade is, and if people want to
Gotcha.
access it, they can. And if not, that's okay too. We can still be friends.
Cool.
Yeah.
I got some recess, so hit it.
Let's hit it.
Hit it.
Recess early tonight. I like
can't do
it.
two things at once.
No, it's right on time. What do you mean?
Do 3 things at once,
2
Spencer. You
minutes
can
late.
do it.
Come on, Spencer.
All right. We'll do recess, and during recess, I'll throw the link to the during recess, I'll throw the link to the trade in the chat.
Perfect. All right, Sean, you're making me feel better about myself because I felt a little bit guilty that we're all going to Wrigley, but we're not actually going to Wrigley. We just rented out the townhouse in right field, but you're saying that counts as Chicago.
No, it definitely
Sean.
Counts. It definitely
why it
counts,
counts.
and nobody in Chicago calls it a townhouse. You're going to a rooftop. It's a rooftop.
Looks like a fucking townhouse.
It's built on top of a townhouse. Yes. No, you're there. You're in the game. You can see the game. You can hear the stadium. It's it's different, but it's the same, right? You're there. There's a couple blind spots on the field that you can't quite see. It wasn't always that way. They've expanded the bleachers over the years, and that's kind of cut into some sight lines. But you can still mostly see it. You definitely feel like you're there. You're part of it. It's going to be a great time. You'll love it. It's a great experience.
I got to get me some Cubs gear because I don't have like any beef with the Cubs, So like there's certain teams like I would never wear like anything Philadelphia or like anything like Jets or like there's certain gear that I just would never wear. But I'd rock Cubs gear. Like I rock like
a
Blue Jays gear, right? I rock.
Well, there's
Oregon
about
Ducks.
7. There's about 7 enormous apparel shops all immediately adjacent to the stadium, so you'll have no trouble finding stuff.
What should I get? Like a Ryan Sandberg jersey? Like that'd be dope.
Ooh, you're gonna go old school. I like it. Strazza mentioned Sosa. Why don't you get yourself a little Sammy Sosa corked bat? Wouldn't that be fun?
Dude, have you seen what
Bartman
Sammy
would be
Sosa
cool.
looks like these days? Have you seen?
I've seen it. He looks like when Michael Jackson went white. He looks crazy.
Dude, he looks. Anyway, that's my recess. Andre Dawson, the Hawk. I used to go to the batting cages with Andre Dawson, like all the time. I shouldn't say that. We wouldn't go together. I would go, and he would also be there.
JC, I heard you talking about pitching earlier this morning, and I don't know if you know this, but my son is the ace pitcher on our baseball team.
I did know that.
And boy, I should put the two of you together. He could use some pointers. I mean, he's doing great. He's killing it, but he's thrown pitches he calls it a fastball, or then he calls this one a slider, and he calls this one a curveball. They're all the same. They all look exactly the same.
I mean, you could either bring them out east, or we could do like a a Zoom call. I could throw. I had a pretty. I didn't throw harder than 84 miles an hour, so I made a living on my curveball. Like I would have like a big stick.
What's that?
Here, is this a 4-seamer? How does that work? Hold on. Wait.
No.
Is that
more fingers, less palm? You want to hold it like an egg. You want to hold it like an egg.
Like this.
Yeah, you want to hold it soft.
Right. I don't know.
Right?
I don't know. I'm not a pitcher. I don't know.
Whoa, balloons came up on my screen. That was cool.
That was cool. Anyway. I would have a big stick coming up, like it's a big hitter, right? That's just dying for me to throw a watermelon fastball, which is what my fastball looked like to good hitters. And I would just go in there and throw 4 curveballs in a row. Throw it at his head, curveball. Throw it at his head, curveball. Like I didn't have the heater. I'm coming. It's coming. You can either hit it or not. Like I didn't have that pitch, so I had to like.
In my son's last game, he wasn't scheduled to pitch, but the last pitcher in the last inning for our team was struggling. We had to take him out, and we threw my son in, and bing, bang, boom, mowed him down. All 3 batters. It was great.
That a boy. Love it. Love it.
All right, so the NBA
finals. Thinks baseball's too boring.
It's so boring, guys. So the NBA finals start tonight, and I just want to say how much I really hate the Lakers right now.
What do you have to do with it? What was the Lakers have to do with anything?
Have to do with this?
Go to ESPN.com. They are preparing. Yeah, they're preparing a super package for my Danny Hurley. And the way this
No.
works in stores,
Fake news,
Connecticut,
Strazza.
is-
I'm calling it now.
well,
This is fake news. This is a psyop. This is misdirection. I'm calling it. Don't worry about it.
bullshit. You think so? Listen. I
Don't worry,
really hope so. It doesn't seem that way from what I'm hearing. It seems like the kind of offer that you have to take.
Of course.
So yeah, he would definitely
Don't
go.
worry
I would
about it,
imagine.
Steve.
The way this works in stores, Connecticut, is Danny Hurley is not our team. He's not the reason why we were champions last year. We have had 3 different coaches win championships over the past 12 years. So next man up, it's not going to make a difference. See you later, Danny boy.
Hating.
Listen, it happened when you're on top.
You're
This
gonna
happened. We were
Haterade.
prepared for this. We were worried about this. So
Hey, Stock Market
And
Mike.
he had nothing to do with recruiting them. Nothing, right?
Jim
Stock
Calhoun.
Market Mike. It's
Calhoun-
not my birthday. I don't know.
Calhoun-
You're getting some fake news.
So much
But thanks
fake news.
anyway.
Danny's not breaking up with Steve. Steve's breaking up with Dan Hurley.
I mean, listen, if he goes, I get it. I'm just saying, like, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. We'll be fine.
So his recruiting skills are not relevant.
Well, I mean, were Kevin Ollie's not relevant either? Like, I mean, he did well at
All right.
recruiting, I guess, too. At the national championship. Jim Calhoun really is the one who said
That's
this
my
all.
hot take. Don't worry about it.
They'll
All right.
bring Calhoun back out of retirement. That's the move.
Spencer's taking the under.
Listen, I hope so. We'll see. It'll
Now
be
he hopes so. So now you want him to stay.
Of course, I want him to stay. I just understand he's probably going.
Oh,
Okay?
so you want him to stay, but it has nothing to do with him. So why do you want him to stay?
It's acceptance. This is just me accepting reality.
You're selling puts and not getting paid for it against Strazza.
I'm gonna go sell some more puts today. I don't care. I'm gonna think you guys will. I'll do it.
All right.
All right,
If you
all
have
right.
any if you have any specific requests for us, we got Chart Request live today at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Today will be my last day filling in for Patrick. So me and Steve, 1 o'clock, email us questions at stockmarketmedia.com to get your requests up in there. And it's Thursday. Options Jam session, noon. Every Thursday at noon. Sean breaking out some options trades. So we got some stuff on the channel today. Thanks to Michael Martin. Thanks to Sean. Thanks to all of you. Drop us a like. We'd appreciate that. And have a great day. Go make some money, I guess.
Adios. Binance new all-time highs.
Cool.
Run it. I can't take no loss.